What's up, bro? It is Legend of Iron, like, sub, hype. So here we go. What is an FBA? Foundational Black American. Pretty much right now being answered by Mr. Austin H. Cool brother. I could kick it with him. He looked like he'd be having a lot of fun as he traveled. I know I did when I used to travel. Nevertheless, it's a serious question. I'm not too fond of the whole FBA, only because I don't like the B. I'm cool with foundational American, but once you throw in the word black, no. Foundation American, I am cool with. Nevertheless, as he goes through bringing it down his way and showing his research that he did, he's going to ask some key questions. I'm going to try to answer them. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Comment. Let's start the discussion.
Is he being a Native American and not being related to Africans at all? Guess what? Making those kind of statements would exclude you from your own interest of wanting reparations. So, you guys, let's go ahead and put this FBA discussion back on the board again. Because now that I'm doing historical videos, people seem to have a lot to say about anything that I say. And I'm used to that, but it seems like now everything is about me either being too young or I need to learn my history. I'm an internet scholar. So let's go ahead and get into what FBA is. I'm going to give it a fair assessment this time. FBA stands for Foundational Black Americans. It's a term popularized by Tariq Nasheed, and it refers to Black Americans who are descendants of American slavery, meaning their lineage traces back to Africans enslaved in the United States. So just reading that,
that is not true. Right there. That is not true. Not everybody comes from Africa. That is a lie. I'll prove that later.
Just reading that based off of what that says, I would fit into that category. Now, at the same time, these same people that claim to be part of this FBA stuff also say that they're Indians, or you guys have heard me call it the Featherheads. They call it that as well. And they walk around and ride horses with feathers on top of their head. They also do that. FBA emphasizes cultural lineage, reparations, and separating the unique historical struggles of Black Americans from more recent Black immigrants, basically creating a hierarchy. Let's talk about the gatekeeping Blackness argument, which is one of the issues that I've had the entire time, and I'll tell you why. Many FBAs say non-FBA Black people steal the culture, hip-hop, slang, civil rights movements, while not contributing. So what they're basically saying is non-African, non-Black Americans, which could be somebody from Brazil, Africa, Colombia, Britain, not France, non-Black Americans, as long as they're Black, basically, but they're not in America, they basically steal our culture. Now, if we want to put it in specific with Africans, I know exactly what y'all are talking about when y'all say that. I hear it all the time when I hear Africans use the word nigga, and we can just say that's part of our culture in the United States because we were the first ones to start saying that shit, from my understanding, in a casual way. We could say that's one way of taking some things. Like when I was in South Africa, I seen some dudes sagging pants and wearing snapbacks to the back. That's some stuff that we started, right? But there's also stuff that we got from them. I mean, they are African. And if you are FBA descendant of a slave, then you must have some connection to the transatlantic slave trade, correct? Oh, my bad. I forgot. Y'all are already there. They just enslaved those people and they just made up fucking 500 years of history.
That is somewhat correct. Let's go.
I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Is black culture only valid if it originates from American soil? Answer that in the comments for me. I don't know the answer. The divide and conquer criticism. Some FBA ideology divides the diaspora rather than unites it. Like I said before, we're busy accusing every other ethnicity of black that they want to be like us, which may be true, may not be true. I also don't go to bed sleeping and thinking about that shit. I don't know if I give a damn about what somebody else is doing enough to be online starting this other stuff. Then they also, I've told you guys examples before. Well, I've heard this black American woman, she was dumb. She was sitting in the car and she said that we're not African because I got this sparkle in my eye. And Africans, you don't have that sparkle. We have this sparkle in our eye. That's your best justification. Are we tearing each other's communities down between DNA testing flags? I already told y'all before. If you ask me, it doesn't matter if you're from Africa, South America, or the United States. Y'all are all niggas in the white folks' eyes. So I don't see what's the big divide about it. The next thing, immigration xenophobia. Yes. Basically, FBAs, if you ask me, give off I'm not saying that y'all artists, y'all give off this very Malcolm X militant white nationalist vibe, but you're just black, basically. FBAs often oppose immigration from Africa, correct, from the Caribbean, correct, claiming it waters down black American interests. Is it fair to blame the immigrants or do you need to be blaming the American government? I don't know the answer. You tell me in the comments. Reparations. FBAs want reparations only for those whose ancestors were enslaved in the United States. Rightfully so. I don't know why some guy from South Sudan would move to the United States and be included in the reparations for something that somebody in my family 200 years ago went through. I can agree with that. They should be lineage based and not race based. The same reason that if something happened here, or if I was living in Rwanda and they decided to give reparations to the whole Rwanda for the genocide, I should not be included in that. I'm not even Rwandan. Makes perfect sense. But keep in mind, some people have tried to argue that this would exclude black people whose families have lived in the United States for decades, but do not have documented slave ancestry. So for the FBAs that want reparations, and the white folks know when these white people hear reparations, they're thinking, oh, these people from the transatlantic slave trade, and that's their heritage, so we should give them reparations. Which is basically the logic that y'all are making, and that's what they would think. But while you're busy being a Native American and not being related to Africans at all, guess what? Making those kind of statements would exclude you from your own interest of wanting reparations. So I don't know.
Okay. He said something real important right there. He said native. If you do use the word native, or even if you use the word, believe it or not, citizen, yeah, that ain't good. Indigenous is what we are. Indigenous Americans. Been here since the beginning. He said a lot. Black culture only being valid if it's like or originating from America. Blackness is melanin, pigmentation. The darker ones that even Christopher Columbus came over and he said he saw, he then was like, oh yeah, they got to be from over there because that's all he knew over there. But come to find out, that was a lie. There was those who were higher up who knew of us over here. That's why you would give somebody like him some money to go back to where he used to be. That's a whole nother topic. Nevertheless, there was dark people throughout. You rewind the clock and there's nothing but melanation throughout the whole world. Are we gatekeeping, as he said, blackness? No, you can't gatekeep melanation. With that melanation, it connects you to the dirt, it connects you to the land. That's why when other brothers come from even Russia, and they might have been in Russia all their lives and their family been there 4, 5, 6, 7 generations. That just proves that they're connected to that land. But if they come over to America, they don't need to be called Black Russians. That's ridiculous. They are Russian Americans. It is what it is. It's just once you get over here, the racism is so bad because everybody wants to break things up in categories. Technically, there's no black, no white. There's just one human race, and either you have that melanation or you don't. So, to every brother out there worldwide who still has their melanation, that's what's up. To those who, unfortunately, in this day and age where they like to say that you are mixed, no, you melanated. That's what's up. And to those non-melanated ones worldwide, I know a lot of you, but the ones here in America, some of y'all have forgotten who y'all really are. Because believe it or not, a lot of y'all actually have tribal names if you go back in time. Some of y'all still know y'all tribal names. And because of such, it's not enough of you to come back together and realize such that at the end of the day, this land is being ripped from underneath our feet, you know, and that ain't cool. Now he said we came from this Atlantic slave trade. Okay, yeah, there was an Atlantic slave trade, but not the numbers that they taught y'all. Not the numbers they taught y'all. And then none of them come from Africa. None of them. Actually, it was just some other brothers and sisters who initially, when they came over here, they started in South America, and from there, as they brought them up north, you know, they started taking some of us right back to places where they had already been. They was just moving us from up to down and down and up. That's what it was. Of the fresh new people who did get shipped over here, they didn't come from Africa. They came from other places like London, Germany, European places. Were all of them white? No. Actually, out of, you know, if you take that 95, it was about 95,000 I read in the book. But if you move that up to 100 grand, that 100 grand would that breaks it down to where, according to this guy, he said it was basically every 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 would be considered what we today would call white. So from that, there's your newfound whiteness throughout this country. Between that and the fact of how history has been written, it has become a lie, a straight lie. We lost total power after the Civil War, but this was even after so many other wars, of losing so many other brothers. Point blank, as we say today, the black man's been under attack for a long time. But it used to be real peaceful back in the day. As things changed over there and they wanted to come over here and claim this land, this holy land, there was only one way to do it. And it was through classifications, systematically, started way back then. But the crazy thing is about then is in the early 1600s, you could be dark as midnight, but own land, and they would classify you white. Only later in time did it really turn into a color thing. But that's a whole nother thing that we just After the 1860s, that's really when it turned into a color thing because we started to lose stuff. Kind of like right now. Right now, they're trying to take land from underneath people's feet. And the sad thing is, a lot of people are living in a house that they don't even own the land. They just own the improvement that it sits on and forever paying taxes to the point to where why are you paying taxes on a land that's actually solvent? But always like that. That's why you can hear the slogan of 40 mules, 40 acres of a mule. Because back then, there was people who had thousands of acres of land. So after you did your contract, you could get land and then take care of your family. Just like you would keep your family all the land to help take care of the land. And as they grew and became of age, you would give them a piece of the land. That's that's how it was. And it was peaceful, it was cool, and everybody ate. Unlike now, we fight one another, divided. There should be no homeless nowhere. Where the fruit trees at? We'll get there though. What else Austin got to say?
How this we're not connected to Africa bullshit's gonna turn out in the long run. I don't do that. And I have Native American ancestry. You can look at people in my family and tell that they have Native American ancestry, very strong features. And I don't run around here saying that stupid shit that I'm not black. FBAs accuse African Americans with Caribbean or African roots of appropriating FBA struggle or music. I could agree with that. Can black people steal from other black people's culture? I notice one thing, even black women in the States have this issue when white girls want to start braiding their hair. What's the problem with that? That's actually a compliment that people admire you so much that they're willing to copy you. Keep that in mind. Now, one thing that is a problem with the FBA thing to me is it messes with Pan Africanism. So I'm not a Pan Africanist. I'm just Austin Holloman. I'm not on none of that Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, none of that shit. Okay, I'm not on none of that. I'm just me. Yeah, you ain't seen me doing no parades or none of that. I'm not doing no parades. But how does this disrupt global black unity if we basically are creating it's basically FBA is basically like a tribalism thing, essentially. And I've also met some pro FBA people here in Kenya that do these fucking parades and all this other, and they got, all these Egyptian shit hanging off their face and all that and feathers in their head. I've met some of these people in Kenya, and I'm wondering if you are that invested in this, what the hell are you doing here? And as I said, FBA is just basically a tribe of black, essentially. And I don't even know if I should say tribe because I've had some somewhat mentality. I don't know. Pan African people try to tell me the word tribe is a colonial term, and the proper term for tribe was group of people. I thought those meant the same thing, but apparently I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm too young to know history, as y'all have said, because you definitely cannot know about World War I unless if you were there, or you can't know about slavery unless if you were there. You got to be a certain age to know about that kind of stuff. Can't read a book or go to a history class and learn. You got to be a certain age to know that. Y'all are dumb. Yeah, some of these comments y'all leave are dumb. Basically, I think this is more of a cult of. If people try to say it's not an organization, but based off of what I've seen, and I'm giving it a fair chance by doing my research and looking up the definitions, and I can say I would be FBA, but based off the way how the nationalistic, Nazi-like behavior that it has against other groups of black people in this, I'm not with the whole black hierarchy thing, okay? We're all descendants of slaves at some point. Some people even try to tell me that my analysis of slavery is incorrect. A slave is a fucking slave. I don't give a damn if they treated you better than the other slaves. You're still a slave. I mean, did you put in a resume and a job application to get your job, or were you held against your will and transported to another part of the world to do work? That's what a fucking slave is. A human trafficker does not usually have people in chattels, like if they're like a sex slave or something, and somewhere in Texas. They don't have to be on a plantation getting whipped. A slave is a slave. Anyway, FBAs were descendants of slaves. Some may say otherwise. I'm going to open up this discussion and we'll do some responses and we're going to shut this down for once and for all. And honestly, I think that this isolating the Black Americans from everybody else is actually disadvantaging the entire Black race, because we should actually work together, because with your new administration, a lot of stuff is going to get bad for the immigrants and for the native Black Americans.
That brother ended that strong. I like that. He's right, though. We do need to come together. And we do need to know the truth in the process of coming together. Because as much as we just say we're going to come together, we're not going to come together if it's not underneath the banner of just pure truth. Was there slavery? Slavery, look, he said about whooping on plantations. That sounds like he might have watched that in that movie Roots. What I can tell you is I've read quite a few different books where they talk about, people being marked with the letter C, on them, which was to, represent like the king or whatnot. That's true history, and even when you say the word slave ain't nothing but work. And you can never forget the fact that the first ones who was put through it were, as we say today, white. So they were white indentured or just white slaves, period. Some of them worked for people who was white and some of them worked for people who was black. Not all the plantation owners. Plantation ain't nothing but a farm. If we own the farms, then who needed workers? Did you care what color the worker was? No, back then you didn't care. You just wanted a worker who worked. If you didn't want to work, then so be it. You had to do something else to try to eat. Those who work. Only later on, when the government kind of stepped in after that Civil War and started breaking things up, well, the land was ripped from us. People lost farms. People lost a lot. Things changed. The color game began. And those who had too much, yeah, that's where some of your hangings came from, that's true history. Ugly, but true history. The birth of that, Special K, that's true history. Even seeing that brother, lose his life just because he was trying to do the right thing for the whole country. That's true history. They don't even talk about that history either. They got all y'all running around here thinking there was only one person who's ever been melanated and been a president. Y'all always talking about the first one, but you never really talk about the ones that's in between, or especially the one who was during the Civil War or his VP. Check into that history. Our DNA is forever helping everyone stay somewhat together. Let me show you something. This is what they got you to believe. This is what they put in your textbooks. And this is worldwide. This is worldwide. Everything is out of Africa. FBA, Pan Africanness. This is what they got you believing. Point blank. Read it. That's 200,000 years out of Africa, taller, thinner. Look, this was in your textbooks. And then they tell you it basically broke down to where these people migrated through, to where even those who are in the FBA are so quick to say they still from from Africa because this is what they believe. Cats just walked all the way over from the Bering Straits and slowly migrated throughout the North America, down to South America. And that's why all of us are connected. This is what they've been told to tell you. This is what they put in your textbooks. That is a lie, a flat lie. Here's another look of the great trail that all these people supposedly took. Notice how these arrows lead in such a manner of going through, but still coming from Africa. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's why, as a whole, so many of us in the world will say we're, yes, just one human race, but at the same time, so quick to go against the melanated man. Because the one thing about the melanated man is, yes, he is first. He's been here the longest. The DNA is the longest. There was a brother out there, and I believe it was Maryland, you know, where they found out he had genes, DNA that made him, extremely old. Yeah. But about as fast as that happened, I still heard people say that and then turn around and they believe this, which still ties them right back to into Africa. And there's a reason why this government is trying to tie you into Africa, because once again, the land that we actually are on, yes, like you asked earlier, is black culture only valid if it is originated from American soil? You damn right. This is holy soil. All the Americas is holy soil from South America all the way up to the tippity top. It's all holy. The central area is holy. I don't know how many times I can say it, and I'll say it as many times as it must be said. It's got to be learned, because that's the reality of life. You said a slave is a slave. That's a great quote. Yeah, after the Civil War, there was a reset. And the first ones who became new slaves was the melanated man. He was attacked. It was basically the Civil War. You really don't know the breakdown. It was like a black on black crime. Unfortunately, let me show you something. This, Mr. Austin, is the Guadalupe woman. Read that a hot second. Dates back to 28 million years. You know where that's located, as much as you've traveled? That's close to South America. I made this article nice and big. Notice the date on there. That is 2022. It is 2026. Is anybody talking about this? I wonder why. 28 million years ago. This said 200,000 out of Africa, right? But yet, in 1810, this guy found the Guadalupe woman. I'll stroll nice and slow, but basically, it is a 2-ton slab that they found this lady in. And when they found her, they could not believe their eyes. So the first thing they did was they shipped it up out of there. Notice, no head. Go figure. Kind of like noses, huh? Or all the pyramids that was destroyed over here on this land. Notice the gap. 28 million years. Now, the thing about this story, the craziest part, is if this is truly true, which as the author will try is trying to tell you right here, the thing about this is the fact that a great crater came down and made a major reset on Earth, and that crater is over in like Virginia. I lived in Virginia. Shout out to all my folks out there in Fairfax, Virginia. 35 million years ago. And this man is basically saying that a tidal wave from that impact would have been enough to push that lady from Virginia all the way to Guadalupe, to where that would have been her present resting place where they found her. Yes. And if you think that this is a story, as I stroll back up to the top, so for those who want to go and try to find it again, I'll take you back so you can see. There you have it. Look it up. It's there. Here's another article talking about it. I know it's hard to see. Here you go. Same thing. Just made it much bigger for you. Once again, like I said, they found her in a 2-ton sack, shipped her to to British Museum. It got there in 1812. Why not make it to the books? Why ain't that in everybody's history book? Why ain't nobody talking about that? Huh? Now they want to talk about the out of Africa 300,000 years ago, but here it is. Even the limestone that was around her was at least 1 million years old. So even if you don't want to say that she is not 25 million years old, the limestone, the limestone's a million. And the other beauty of it is it's actually a human, not an ape. See, that's the kicker about that story. Notice what they make this dude. Have ape, half ape, walking, traveling. No. Genesis 1:1. Once again, another article. 1812. 5'2". 28 million years ago. Out of Africa, what? Meanwhile, they want you to believe that the amazing ape man came out to Bering Strait and walked himself all the way down to South America. Please, it's the beauty of history. When you start reading enough books and you start putting it together, it goes together like the perfect puzzle. I love puzzles. I go back to this and now I show you here. This is where they found her. Remember the tidal wave. Whoosh. 28. No, let's just go with the million. Let's just go with the million. Yes, from million. This is all backwards, ladies and gentlemen. This is all backwards. And that's why, even to this day in 2026, and even before 2026, for since the beginning of time, people have been watching us over here, watching what my ancestors do, how my ancestors react. And the way we're reacting right now, we've sat back and been watching and watching, but now it's time to act again, everybody. It's time to not only act, but it's time for all those around the world. It's time for all y'all to know the truth. We know we are connected to this land. Here's your truth. Here's your proof. This gives you a timeline. And they know about this. Every government know about this. But there was a president with the initials of WW who made it crystal clear that only 1% was going to know the truth. Everybody else, we'll tell them what we want to tell them, just so we can do what we want to do. And that's the problem. Now we got corporations doing exactly what they want to do. Is that just to destroy the Holy Land? Are we going to come together and stop this unnecessary fighting between black, brown, white? I think so. On that note, comment, like, sub, hype. More importantly, verify this. And after you verify it, spread the word. Iron sharpens iron. Take care of yourself. Try to eat something real and be good to one another. Peace.